If you're looking for a mid-size truck that's capable both as a truck and as an off-roader, welcome to the Ford Ranger Tremor. This Ford Ranger Tremor, just like the Super Duty Tremor, gives you the same capability that the Ranger gives you with its towing and payload, but gives you some pretty good tools to go off-road. In this video, we're going to take a full detailed look at all the exterior details, the interior, take it out on the road and go for a test drive, and I'm going to show you exactly what you get with this Ranger Tremor. Let's start on the exterior with some quick details. First of all, the Ranger is still going to give you a fully boxed frame, and this Tremor package is going to lift the suspension a little bit and make the stance about an inch wider. You'll get off-road tuned Fox shocks, special tuned front coilover and rear leaf springs with these 32-inch Continental grabber tires that are really quite knobby on 17-inch metallic gray wheels. And then we've got the optional Tremor hood and body graphics on top of this cactus gray paint. It really gives it kind of a retro look, if you ask me. Now up front, you're gonna get a special grille with the red accents. You'll get LED headlights, LED fog lights, and daytime running lights. And at night, they do okay, but the distance definitely is not as good as they should be. You'll also see recovery hooks up front. You even get recovery hooks in the back as well. And don't forget about the bash plate up front and underbody skid plates. Ground clearance is up 9.7 inches, almost an inch more than the regular Ranger. And the increased approach and departure angles will help off-road. Plus, this suspension will give you 8.1 inches more of travel, which is significant when going off-road. Plus, you've got a locking rear differential and LED taillights. And what do you think of these sliders or these steps? I'll show you them a little bit closer in a second. Now a quick look at the bed. So Ford gives us a 5-foot bed. The Ranger can be had with a 5 or a 6-foot bed, but obviously we have the short 5-foot bed right here. We've got the optional spray-in bed liner as well. And the thing about this bed is, or the main thing about this Tremor is that you can still have a good payload number at a little over 1,400 pounds. So they retain that payload capability even though we have the off-road capability. It's pretty basic. We've just got fixed tie downs in each corner. We don't have the movable tie downs here or any in-bed lighting. We have the overhead light, which is an LED light, which is good to see. But otherwise, there's not much else going on. There's no extra plugs or anything fancy like that. And this is an easy lift tailgate. It will crash down, and it's a lockable tailgate as well. That's electronic locking, so you don't have to use a key. You can use your key fob. Now a quick look at the Ranger key fob, just like other Ford key fobs, and it includes remote start, so that's nice. Plus you've got the touchpad on the door. It's the real touchpad, not the touch sensitive buttons. You can actually push buttons there, and you've got this to lock it or the touch sensitive in the back to unlock it. But before we hop in, let's look at these running boards, these sliders. So they're obviously pretty stiff. They cut into the ground clearance a little bit, but you could use them as sliders. These steps do come down just a little to affect your ground clearance. And over on the door panel, this is all hard touch except the armrest, which I'm okay with in a truck like this, but at this price, you know, maybe you'd expect a little bit more. And then still good storage down here. In fact, it's good for a bottle there, and then another bottle right there. And the seats in the Tremor, I like how you have Tremor actually written on the seat. The headrests are not ridiculously intrusive either, so I don't really have any complaints with that. This is actually a nice two-tone, so you have some leather around here and on the bolsters, but then you've got this Alcantara material in the middle and down on the seat bottom. So these are comfortable, I like them, they look nice as well. You've got power height and tilt adjustment on here, and power lumbar support, which is good, but you actually have a manual tilt or a reclining function, which is kind of interesting. The steering wheel is also manual tilt and telescoping with a pretty good motion. Now these seats are heated in here, but there's no ventilation, and the steering wheel isn't heated either. But comfort-wise, I'm comfortable. Like I said, the bolstering is medium, the headrests aren't too bad, and overall, I really don't have any complaints with these seats. Now moving to the back seat, there's not a ton of space, obviously nowhere near the F-150, but good enough for some people, maybe even some families. You still get some hard materials on the door, but you've got a little soft armrest, good grab handle, and a good sized bottle holder down there. And these seats do not fold down like some vehicles. It'd be nice to see that functionality. They do fold up, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But as you can see, I have a car seat back here. I cannot quite put it behind where I like to sit without my seat touching it. So I can put it over there, and my front passenger still has decent enough space. And I'm 5'9", sitting behind myself. Obviously not a ton of space, but you've got a good cutout right here for knees, enough space for feet, and it's not terrible back here. I'll take it. You've got a little storage area right there, a 3-prong outlet, which is awesome, and 2 USB charging ports. It's also good to see a center folding armrest. Ford even gives you a manual sliding glass. It'd be really nice if this was power operated so you can open it from the driver's seat. And I can even sit up here nice and tall. I mean, I've been actually hauling around a few people, including the car seat, and it's been good enough. So you could use this as a family vehicle for the back seat, but my one complaint is that this second seat actually folds up all as one. It's not a split fold like most seats. But when you fold it up, you've got a little bit of under seat storage, so at least you have that functionality for storage. All right, now taking a closer look at the interior, there's definitely a few things that will differentiate this, and this one has a few extra options on it. First of all, let's go ahead and start it up. Got a pretty basic display in the middle and Ford's 8-inch screen over here. A little bit of a slow startup, but one difference that you're gonna see is, check out these auxiliary switches. You can hook up light bars, winches, whatever you want. You've got 6 different switches up there, so that is awesome. And you'll also find you've got this nice stitching that runs across the dash all the way over, and then it says Ranger over there. I think that looks cool. It'd be kind of cool if it said Tremor, but then coming over, like I showed you, the steering wheel, manual tilt and telescoping. It is not a heated steering wheel though. Got your typical light controls over here, and then the basic displays in front. I've showed you this on other Rangers before, so I'm going to be fairly brief, but you got 1 physical gauge in the middle and then 2 separate digital gauges on the side, where you've got a lot of trip computer information and vehicle specific information, and even some customization for your driver assist settings as well. And then more audio controls over here. Everything can be controlled with the steering wheel. One of the upgrades here is we have adaptive radar cruise control that you can control with on the steering wheel, as you see those arrows right there. Now moving over to the 8-inch screen, one option that we have on here is the upgraded B&O sound system that does sound really nice as well. This isn't a big fancy screen or anything like that Santa Cruz that I just recently showed you, but it's easy to operate, gives you everything that you need to. You've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on here. It's wired, it is not wireless. So that is one thing, but that's pretty typical for this class. Now coming down, you've got a volume knob, a tuning knob, and then a couple basic buttons. Otherwise, mostly everything is controlled with the touchscreen. But you have dual zone climate control down here. These buttons, everything looks kind of old and dated, but it's still simple and easy to use. Go into reverse. This is our backup camera. We also have parking sensors, which will show up right there, front and back. You've got a hitch line, then you can press that to go down to your hitch. So that is really cool. And if I get back out, you turn the wheel, you've got dynamic lines. Just down a little further, you've got 2 12-volt power outlets, 2 USB ports, and a little storage area. The actual plug-ins are kind of annoying where they are, because this makes this storage area a little bit awkward. But then you've got the trail control, which is basically like Ford's version of an off-road cruise control or crawl control. You can turn off your auto stop start, engage your rear locker, trailering, parking sensors, and traction control, and then your four-wheel drive controls right here. One thing that I can appreciate is that Ford gave us an actual parking brake, a hand-activated parking brake. Cup holders are decent size. I've had no trouble fitting anything in there. The armrest is soft to the touch, and it's got this extra little area for your elbow. So fitting your elbow on there, and then over here will probably be easier for most people. And then there's a deep but kind of small storage area here. One nice thing is that Ford's glove box is lockable. We have an automatic dimming rearview mirror. You even get sunglass holders up there. Those are starting to go away. Garage controls, and then you've got these movable visors, which is always good to see. Basic interior lights, but they are LED lights, but it's pretty simplified up here, and I like that. One reason is because we don't have a sunroof in here, so that's one thing if you want a sunroof. Just FYI, your passenger has a grab handle to help them get in. Now under the hood, you might expect there to be a power bump or some changes, but there's actually no change at all. It's the same engine that you get on even the base Ford Ranger. It's still a pretty potent engine. This is a 2.3 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with 270 horsepower and a really healthy 310 pound-feet of torque. This Tremor is definitely less efficient. You've got 19 miles per gallon across the board, city, highway, and combined. I have averaged a little better on the highway though, but that's still pretty bad. But I mean, that's what you get for this kind of a setup. But the good thing about this kind of setup that really makes this an off-road but truck-worthy capable type of vehicle is your towing is not sacrificed. It's still 7,500 pounds, just like the non-Tremor Ranger. All right, y'all, let's get behind the wheel of this Ranger Tremor. So I do have experience driving some other Rangers, the non-Tremor models, non-off-road models, the XL STX as well as the XLT. And I've got to say, I like driving the Ranger because it's got a more traditional feel. So your first impression is going to be, it just feels more like a truck than what some mid-sizers feel like. It's body on frame. You've got a solid axle in the back. You've got a regular shifter down here. You've even got a full parking brake. And it just has, you know, this stiffer truck feel, but it's not annoying or obnoxious. It actually rides decent, with the exception of this Tremor. It just does not ride quite as nice as the non-Tremor models, obviously. I mean, this has a different suspension setup. You've got different tires. But this turbo is pretty punchy. So don't discount this because it's a 4-cylinder. It's got a lot of torque. In fact, 310 pound-feet of torque. That's really healthy and peppy for a vehicle this small. One thing I want to make sure you know is that I don't have a good place to go off-road with this right now, so I apologize. You're not going to see any crazy Tremor off-roading. But I'll give you my road impressions and overall impressions. Now, just getting going with this turbo, let me just go ahead and put the pedal down. With the 10-speed, when you're on full throttle, the 10-speed is pretty smooth. There's times where that 10-speed gets to being jerky and a little bit annoying, but for the most part, the 10-speed does a good job. Now we're on a textured road, a surface that usually brings in a lot of road noise with different vehicles, but the Ranger's actually quieter than a lot of different vehicles I've tested. It might be because we've got those skid plates underneath that help block sound. We've got these big tires, smaller wheels, but it's actually quieter than a lot of vehicles. Once you get on the high-speed interstate, you do get some wind noise in here. You don't have laminated glass on the side or anything like that, but it's a comfortable place to be, and I've been hauling my family around in here without much complaints from them either, so it can work for that purpose. But just for me, it does perfect. It's totally fine. Ride comfort is okay. The handling is also good because it's smaller than like an F-150. It's more nimble, easier to park, and that could be very handy when going off-road as well, because it's not quite as wide, it's not quite as long, and you still got good ground clearance. So there's a lot to be said about a smaller vehicle for going off-road. But with this Tremor model, of course, you still get the capability of towing just as much as the regular Ranger, which is usually a big negative to off-road vehicles. Like, for example, the Ford Raptor, the F-150 Raptor, that suffers a lot in terms of capability using it as a truck compared to the regular F-150. But again, turbo, a little bit of pedal. The best part about the turbo is just little bits of throttle. And it took a little while to go. The downshift and the turbo lag is real. But towing with the Ranger is going to be a big perk because of how much torque it has early on. I've driven the Rangers on a couple of the other Rangers on just some gravel roads, you know, nothing real with off-roading, and they all felt good. They all felt composed. It's pretty wet right now, so it's kicking up a lot of stuff and kind of loud, but this is very smooth out here. This is when you really start to feel comfortable in the Ford Ranger. And they tuned the suspension so that it's not so jarring like it would be in just a regular suspension when you hit big bumps and things like that. So the impact, the absorption, the suspension travel is much better in here than in the regular Ranger. And it's pretty wet, and we get some gummy soil around here. I'm just in two-wheel drive. This does have a rear locker. If you want, you can turn that on just with a button right here. Otherwise, you've got your regular four-wheel drive controls, and if you want to equip this and deck it out, you've got 6 different auxiliary switches, your upfitter switches to plug in lights, a winch, whatever it may be. But overall, I guess daily driving this, I like it for the most part. I wish the interior was a little bit of a different layout. It's pretty utilitarian, which is still good for truck use, and I like the traditional aspect of it. Could be upgraded a little bit, especially compared to some of the recent upgrades in competitors, but I'm excited to see what Ford's going to bring out later on. Let's go ahead and close things out. So to wrap things up on this Ford Ranger Tremor package, what do you think? I like that Ford still lets you get it on the Lariat trim and the XLT trim. You just can't get it on the base XL trim. But this Lariat has quite a few features. Even though this price is pretty steep, you still get the capability of the typical midsize Ford Ranger, the size of the midsize Ford Ranger. But now with this Tremor package, you've got some more tools to go off-road without sacrificing that capability. But leave your thoughts down below on what you think. I've got videos on the XL Ranger STX and the XLT as well if you want to see those and just see how it compares to this Tremor. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great day.